Hi folks, HR Funk here. With an unexpected review, a couple of weeks ago, Derek from Optics Planet got a hold of me, and he mentioned that he'd seen some of the recent videos that I produced where I've been talking about red dot optics for handguns, and he asked me if I would be willing to try a new optic of that sort that's recently been introduced by Vortex. And I said, sure, what the heck. So he sent me the Vortex Defender CCW. It arrived a few days ago, and yesterday I had a chance to mount it to my Canik Mete SF. Told you this one wasn't going back, folks. And yesterday, after mounting it, I had a chance to go out and do some shooting with it. And in this video, I'll tell you about the Vortex Defender CCW, and I'll also give you some of my first impressions with it after having done some shooting. And here's an up-close look at the Vortex Defender CCW red dot optic. According to Vortex, this optic was designed from the ground up for CCW/EDC, and it has several features that make it particularly well suited for that, beginning with the fact that it has aspherical lenses, which again, according to Vortex, improves the image quality and also the dot quality. There is an impact surface at the top of the sight right here to guard against daily bumps and bangs and dings, and this is basically a rubber surface to help protect the sight. And here's another look at the Defender CCW from the business end, and you can see this aggressively textured surface on the front to aid with one-handed slide manipulation. Also, notice that the lens is set well back inside of this surface, which I think is a good feature. One of the things I see sometimes with sights of this sort is the lens is right out to the front of the housing. So if there would be an impact against something with a slight protrusion, say a surface with a nail or a stone or something else, that could potentially damage the lens if there's an impact against the front of the sight. Whereas with this lens set farther back, that should be less of a concern. And the Defender CCW is also shockproof, waterproof, and fog-proof, i.e. it's intended to exist in the real world. And here is a view through the Defender CCW. This particular version has a dot that measures 3 minutes of angle. Vortex also offers another version that has a 6-minute of angle dot. The sight is powered by a 1632 battery that's contained in a top mount compartment, and it has 10 illumination settings, 8 of which are daylight settings, and the bottom 2 are low light / night vision settings. The illumination is controlled by the buttons on either side, which I will show you momentarily. The up button is on the left-hand side of the sight, and the down button is on the right-hand side of the sight. And there you can see the up button for adjusting the illumination. And there is the down button. Along with adjusting the illumination level, these buttons also serve several other purposes that are involved in programming the sight to operate exactly the way you want it to. For one thing, you can use the buttons to lock out the buttons. That way the illumination level will always be on the exact level you want, and it won't be inadvertently changed from one level to another. Also, this sight features an auto shutoff. After 14 hours, the sight powers itself down. If you don't want it to do that, if you want it to be constantly on, you can use these buttons to lock out that feature, and the sight will stay constantly on. Now, one thing I've noticed with using the buttons since I've been working with this sight is they are somewhat stiff, and they're also not real easy to always find. You would think that that would be easy to feel, but there are some times that I actually have to look and see where that is. The rubber that's used on this cover just isn't real tactile, and sometimes with the surface that surrounds it, it's just a little difficult to figure out exactly where to push. So that is something I wanted to mention about the buttons. They do, however, work. It just sometimes takes a little bit more effort to find them and actually depress them and get them to perform their functions than it seems like it should. And there's another view through the Defender CCW. According to Vortex, this sight has a lens that measures 16 millimeters from top to bottom and 20 millimeters from side to side. The Defender CCW is a parallax-free, one-power, non-magnifying optic with unlimited eye relief. Switching to this view, we can see a few different things, beginning with this top-mounted battery compartment. So there is no need to dismount the sight in order to change the battery. The battery cap just basically screws on and unscrews, and Vortex includes a tool in order to accomplish that function. And this works well enough. It's not quite as convenient as the little slide out trays that we see on some sites or the flip up cover that's on the Loophole Delta Point Pro, but all in all, I would rate this as a not bad, just not quite as convenient as some other designs that I've seen. Speaking of the battery, it's worth noting that that 1632 battery has a life expectancy of 9,500 hours at the number 6 or medium setting of this optic, and that computes to over a year of battery life. And as I mentioned a while ago, it has the 14-hour auto shut-off feature, as long as you don't lock it out with the buttons. But that 14-hour function, when it is enabled, has a motion sensor, so as soon as the site detects any type of motion, it comes back on. Now, if you have disabled the 14-hour shut-off, the motion sensor is not active, so you have to physically turn the site back on by depressing and holding either one of the buttons for 3 seconds. But if the auto shut-off function is enabled and it powers down after 14 hours, the site will re-illuminate once it senses any motion. The Defender CCW is fully adjustable for both windage and elevation, and you can see the windage adjustment screw here on the side of the sight body, and the elevation screw is on the top. And according to Vortex, these screws are supposed to be graduated in 1 minute of angle clicks, but yesterday when I was zeroing this sight, I could not feel any clicks at all. I just had to guesstimate about how far to turn each screw to move the dot where I needed to move it. The sight has a total movement of 110 minutes of angle for elevation and 105 minutes of angle for windage. And Vortex also includes a shim for adjusting additional elevation if that's necessary, and I will grab the shim to show it to you. And here is that mounting shim, and this is a 1 degree shim plate, and for any of you that don't know, a minute of angle is 1/60th of a degree. So 1 degree equals 60 minutes of angle for compensation of your elevation. If for whatever reason you're not able to zero your sight, you can use this to compensate and get an additional 60 minutes of angle of elevation or declination, depending upon which direction you need it to go and which direction you mount the shim, in order to correct those elevation problems. In terms of dimensions, the Defender CCW is 1 inch high, 1.1 inches wide, 1.6 inches in length, and in terms of weight, with the battery installed, it's coming in at just under 1 ounce. In fact, Vortex rates it at 0.9 ounces. The mounting footprint used by the Defender CCW is also the same as that used by the Shield RMS. Along with the Defender CCW, Vortex includes a variety of items. I've already mentioned this tool, which along with opening and closing the battery compartment can also be used for tightening mounting screws and adjusting the windage and elevation screws. It comes with a rubber cover to keep the sight safe. I mentioned the shim plate already. It also comes with 2 pairs of mounting screws for many different popular handguns, and this was fortuitous for me because Canik, in their information that comes with their handguns, says explicitly you should only use their mounting screws to mount an optic to your handgun. Unfortunately, the mounting screws that they included with my Mete SF were not long enough to secure the Defender CCW to the slide of my pistol. However, there were 2 screws that came along with this pistol that were intended for Canik pistols. It actually indicated the Canik TP9, but they fit the Mete just fine, and they were long enough in order to secure the sight to my pistol. So that worked out very well. And again, there are 2 sets of screws, so in case you lose 1 pair, you still have an additional pair. And I would go through all the different handguns that they have screws in here for, but just take my word for it, there's a bunch of them. And last but not least, you get a lens cloth and the owner's manual for the Defender CCW. The Defender CCW currently sells for about $250, and it is covered by the Vortex Unlimited Unconditional Lifetime Warranty. Moving on to some shooting impressions with the Defender CCW. I noticed yesterday when I was shooting that it seemed to be a little easier to pick up the dot in this particular red dot optic than some of the others that I've used in the past. Now, many times I've favored the circle dot reticles that feature the large circle around the small 1, 2, maybe 3 minute of angle dot. And it just seemed like I was able to pick up the dot in this one about as quickly as I could pick up those larger reticles. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is the size of the lens in the Defender CCW. According to Vortex, this is one of the largest lenses in this class of optic. And I think there's just a little bit more room in there for me to find it. The other thing that I notice is because the Canik sights co-witness in the lower 1/3 of the optic, when I bring it up and I'm used to looking at the sights, that more or less brings the dot into my field of view. In fact, when I was doing a non-dominant hand drill yesterday, I came up and initially I could not see the dot, and I instantly transitioned to my sights, and as soon as I did that, the dot appeared, and I was able to finish that drill. In fact, I fired 4 shots with my non-dominant hand in something like 3.97 seconds or some such, which was well under the time limit for that particular drill. And I think credit for that goes to Canik, first off, for a well-designed mounting platform for the red dot optic, but also to Vortex for making sure that the sight itself mounts low enough to the top of the slide that it allows that 1/3 lower co-witness of the iron sights in the lens. I think probably also due to that larger lens in this particular optic is the fact that when I was shooting my way through the defensive drills, I did not seem to lose the dot. It would go away during recoil, but it seemed to come back to where it was to begin with. Some of that, again, might be credit to the Canik Mete, and this magwell seems to help mitigate recoil, and that might keep the dot a little bit more well aligned when I'm in a shooting position. But in any case, I very much did notice that that dot, when it would go away during recoil, tended to come back, and I was able to pick it up much more quickly than I usually can with just a single dot. Another thing I noticed while shooting with the Defender CCW was a high degree of accuracy, and I wish I had taken some video at the range so you could see some of the shooting I was doing. I finished things off with a 25-yard headshot, and I just came up, found the dot, superimposed it on the target, and pressed the trigger, and it was pretty much a dead center headshot from that distance of 25 yards. And a lot of you know what a stickler I am for precision when it comes to shooting, so that definitely caught my attention when I fired that shot. In terms of brightness, there was no problem whatsoever having the dot bright enough to be able to see it. And I was out there during the middle of the day. There was very bright sunlight, and even so, and I don't even think I had the dot on the highest setting. It was on the 2nd or 3rd from the top highest illumination setting, and I still had no problem whatsoever finding it when I was shooting. So all in all, folks, the Vortex Defender CCW seems to be a pretty good sight. It pairs well with the Canik Mete SF, and I am looking forward to going out and doing some more shooting with both of them, and hopefully next time around I'll get some range footage so you'll be able to see how they perform. But that's going to do it for the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, as always, make sure you forward those to me. Remember, if you purchase anything from Optics Planet, like the Defender CCW, be sure to use my discount code, which is... And if you use that discount code, it's good for 5% off your purchase from Optics Planet. Also remember the discount code from Hot Munitions. If you go to Hot Munitions, you can use my discount code there, which is HRFUNK10, and that'll save you 10% off your purchase from Hot Munitions. Last but not least is the Target sponsor for the channel. Go to the Target's online website and check out their inventory and see if they have anything that's going to fit your Target needs. See you next time, folks. And until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.